Hey, welcome students. Today we're going to be learning about using square roots to solve the quadratic equation. So, right here we have a quadratic, m squared, minus 18 equals negative 18. So how do I solve this? Well, first of all I need to get m squared by itself. So what do? If it says minus 18, of course we're going to add 18 to both sides. When you add 18, negative 18 plus an 18 is 0, so m squared equals 0. How do I undo the square? I do a square root, and when you do the square root of both sides, you get m, and square root of 0 is 0. So your answer is 0. Easy enough. And let's take a look at this. B squared plus 12 equals 5. So we're going to have to, let me grab my pen real quick here. And so we're going to have to do, let's see, minus 12, minus 12. So B squared equals negative 7. Square root, because the square. We get B on this side, but the square root of a negative 7, that's not a real number. So we cannot do this. No solution at all. All right. Let's take a look at this one. 4z squared equals 9. Well, let's see how we solve it. We have to get z squared by itself. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to divide both sides by 4. And then, of course, square root both sides. And you get plus or minus the square root of 9 over 4. Because it could be a positive or a negative. What's the square root of 9? 3. What's the square root of 4? 2. So our answer is plus or minus 3/2. This could also be written as, just so you're aware of it, it could be a negative 1.5 or a positive 1.5. Those could be our two answers because 3 divided by 2 is 1.5. All right. We're going to continue working on finding our answers. Here we go. I would like you guys to pause your video and solve these equations. Remember, the goal for every one of these to solve it is to simply get the term, the variable squared all by itself, and then square root both sides. Pause your video. Give it a try. Welcome back. Let's see how you did. C squared equals 25, so C would equal plus or minus 5. Subtract your 12 from both sides, and so 5w squared equals negative 20. Divide by 5, you get 4. So, well, if you got negative, if your answer is negative, of course, there's no solution because if you try to square root a negative, it's not real. It's imaginary. All right, in part 3, you should have been able to get a 0. And number 4, negative 4/5 and positive 4/5. And number 5, negative 10/3, positive 10/3. And the last one, there are no solutions to that. Now, just so we're aware, I want to make sure we know how to do this real quick. For this one, we divide both sides by 25, divide by 25. This cancels. X squared equals 16 over 25, so we square root and square root. Square root of 16 is 4. Square root of 25 is 5. And since it's been a square root, it's plus or minus. This one, dividing by your 9, so we get 100. Divide by 9, because look, there we go. We got our m squared by itself. Now to undo the square, we square root it. Square root of 100 is 10. Square root of 9 is 3. Square root, we have plus or minus. Oh, that minus didn't show up. All right, let's take a look at one last type of problem. What if we get a nice long equation like this and it says round the solutions to the nearest hundredth? All right, this is actually fairly easy. Our goal is still to get x by itself, but we have to basically do x minus 4 squared by itself to start. So see the 6 outside the parenthesis? We're going to divide by 6 on this side and divide by 6 on that side. So you get x minus 4 quantity squared equals a 7. So 6 over 6. Here, I'll write it so we make sure we all understand. Divide by 6 divide by 6, cancel, 7. Now, we need to get the answer to this. Well, we could take the square root of this and the square root of that, and so we get x minus 4 equals the square root of 7, right? Plus or minus, of course. And now, how do we get our final answer? See this minus 4? Well, let's move it over to the other side by adding it. And so, we get x equals plus or minus a 7, square root 7, plus a 4. All right, let's take a look real quick. And they normally will put the 4 out in front. So our final answer, let me erase this so you can actually see our final answer. Notice how the answer here says 4 plus root 7 and 4 minus root 7. If you put 4 plus root 7 in the calculator, it gets you about 6.65, and 4 minus the root 7 gets you 1.35. So once again, when you get these a little bit longer problems, that was my dog. Anyways, so make sure you divide and get this whole parenthesis squared by itself, and then you can square root both sides. All right. Give these 3 questions a try. Pause your video. Make sure you divide by 2 to get started, and then square root both sides. Pause your video and give it a start. Welcome back. Let's see how you did. You should have been able to get -1 and 5. And I'll walk you through that one real quick to make sure we're all understanding this. Let me grab a pen. And so what I did, I was divided by 2. And so now I've got x minus 2 quantity squared equals a 9. To undo the square, I do a square root. Doop, doop. So now I've got square root of that is x minus 2. And square root of that is a 3, but it's plus or minus 3. Okay? Now move the 2 over so we can get x by itself. So x equals plus 2 plus 2. So we write 2 plus or minus 3. So we get 2 answers. X, if I do 2 plus 3, I get 5. 2 minus 3, I get x equals -1. So that's why there's 2 solutions. Now, I'm not going to walk you through the rest of them because you should be able to do those. If you need to pause your video and give it a try after seeing how to work that one, you're more than welcome to. All right, let's take a look at the other answers. You should have been able to get 0.35 and 5.65 approximately. And then t was -7.83 and a -2.17 approximately. Well, that's it for tonight. I'll see you guys all on Monday.